Good evening, everybody. So I just got back from the gym. Awesome cardio workout. Man. So tonight I'm going to tell you a little story. And it's borderline on the stupid of proportions that will make you laugh. So this was a couple years back. It's a good laugh, even though it's been a couple years ago. But man, looking back, holy crap. But so I had a wise old owl friend. This guy was about as close to me in personality as I can get, even though he was like 40 years my senior. Man, me and him would have just some of the greatest just conversations you can imagine. But and he taught me a little something, and well, it's pretty good. But on to the story. So I was out having a root beer, right? Since I quit drinking a couple years back. And this root beer is probably the best kind of root beer I've ever had. It's 1919. I don't know if they have it where you are, but it's probably the best root beer I've ever had. And at the time that I had it on this night, there's only a few bars that sold it and a few convenience stores that you can get it from. And so if I wanted to enjoy a 1919, I had to go to one of these places or else I couldn't. And so I'm sitting there at the bar, right, drinking my 1919, watching the TVs and so forth, just kind of doing my thing. And wow. This guy comes and sits down next to me, and we start having a conversation, right? Two guys having a conversation in a bar. How about that? But he starts telling me a story about, and don't ask me why he was telling me this, but anyways, he started telling me the whole Don Juan part and realm of his life, right? And so I kind of scratched my head after about the third story, like wondering what the hell this guy was even talking to me and how this had even come into the forefront. But I was one of those, I mean, hey, I'll let the guy talk, right? And when I finally got a chance to chime in, I'm just like, so what you're saying is all these girls got a chance to see the Three Blind Mice. And he looked at me with a look like I had just punched him in the gut. Like, and so I gave him a minute to kind of think about it to see if maybe he can come up with the answer of what the hell the Three Blind Mice were. And after he tried, and obviously he didn't get it. I'm like, so what you're saying is these girls met your ego, your pride, and your arrogance. And it was almost like he had a golf ball moment, right? Like you would have thought that there was a golf ball that flew through the side of the building and smacked him in the temple, right? Because he's just like, damn, right? And he walked away. And so I went back to my sipping on my root beer because I got rid of this gentleman over here, right? Obviously not somebody that I needed to have in my space. User and abuser, right? I couldn't tell the lie if I wanted to. Probably about an hour or so later, I'm on my second or third 1919. I had this really pretty woman come and sit down, and she's all just decked out, right? Just like you would have thought she just came from a wedding. And she was wearing this really tight red dress, right? She was one of those ladies that goes to a bar looking like she's, well, you know. But so we start having a conversation and we start talking, which is, hey, two people sitting in a bar. Go figure, right? But and she starts like doing the whole like, so how you doing tonight, big boy? And what you up to tonight? And I'm just like, wait a minute. Right? So after I let this go on for a couple of minutes, right? I tolerated it for just long enough to allow her validation to kick in and allow her to get her somewhat fillies on. After a couple of minutes, I kind of pushed her away a little bit, right? Just enough to like get some space in between us again. Breathe a little bit. But I'm like, so what I'm being introduced right now is your Three Blind Mice. And again, because apparently people don't know this one. Apparently, like, this is something that people just don't know about. They don't know about the Three Blind Mice. It's an oldie, apparently. It's an oldie. But anyways, so after I said that, she once again, she as well looked at me like I had just punched her in the gut, which I didn't. But and she's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, well, you're over here feeling and touching up on me and being all cool like and so forth, and we are not in a strip club, right? I done been introduced to your ego, your pride, and your arrogance. And she again looked at me and asked, what the hell is that? And I'm like, well, that is my way of saying please leave my space. It took her a couple minutes to get, like, for it to come to mind kind of thing on what her next reaction should be. And I sat down and I sipped on my 1919 and I just went back to my doing me. And she spun me around and she's like, you know, you don't have to be a butthead. And I'm like, I'm not being a butthead. We had our 5-minute conversation. It's obviously you're looking for a good time. And I'm not about it. If you would please, have a good night. She got up, she walked away. The bartender came in because there was no bartender in here during this little interaction, and she walked up and she's like, so how you doing? And I'm like, great. I just had kind of a weird situation happen from a couple of people, and I had to use something I learned. Haven't used it in a while, so I'm pulling out my tackle box here. And so we get talking and so forth, and she's like, you're up for another 1919? And I'm like, absolutely. I'll drink as much of this 1919 root beer as I can get my hands on. She's like, so what do you have to do? Hang on, let's go to step 2.